What's up, everybody? Jeff from JC Proof here, and I'm going to try to do something a little bit different today to talk about what's going on with the JC Proof song IRL,
in real life.
And the new Vulfpeck track In Real Life.
IRL, real life.
Sounds a little bit similar, right? So let's talk about it.
Make a peace, make amends, doesn't matter in the end. Just try to make your good friends laugh.
So I've been a fan of Vulfpeck since my freshman year in college when Back Pocket came out and these guys were doing those VHS videos in the living room. Just being the super funky squad that they are and that we all love them for. So I was eagerly waiting for their new album to drop, but before I could even listen to it, my friends, musical colleagues, and some fans started bombarding me with DMs and texts about one of the songs on it called In Real Life.
IRL, real life.
Now, it sounds great, but of course, 4 or 5 years ago, JC Proof came out with our song IRL, which is eerily similar.
IRL, in real life.
So what the hell is going on here? Secret songwriting collab I've been planning for months? Accidental thematic alignment? Or perhaps something far more sinister? Today I'm going to try to do my best Adam Neely impression and talk about what makes these songs similar. In the age of AI art and sampling, the lines are gray between being inspired by, sharing influences, or just outright copying somebody's work. Well, according to the government, a copyright is created when a work is fixed in tangible form. Now, this might mean when sheet music is created, when an audio file or demo is recorded, or any other digital file associated with that work is made. Now, infringement is a little bit more complicated. It has to do with two parts. The first is that the infringing person had access to, or could be reasonably assumed to have heard, the original work. And the second part has to do with substantial similarity. Would an expert and or a layperson think that the two works had enough in common that plagiarism was involved?
Case dismissed.
I distinctly remember coming up with the concept for this tune while on a hike in Eugene, Oregon, and I even have the original voice memo of this song. Now bear with me, it's a little bit rough.
IRL, in real life. Ba-da-bip-be-doo. I wanna meet you. IRL, in real life. Ba-da-bip-be-doo.
Now I know that was rough, but I think it's important because it shows how the entire song IRL came from that one single melodic and lyrical hook that I heard on that hike. It was the seed from which the entire song was born. The next day I have another voice memo where I put some chords to the chorus and fleshed out the idea a little bit more.
IRL, in real life. Let's make time in real life.
Then in 2022, we recorded the song and made a sweet music video for it, which got included in Mercury's top 5 Portland music videos that year. Check it out.
IRL, in real life. Let's make time for real life. IRL, in real life.
So now let's talk about what makes JC Proof's IRL and Vulfpeck's In Real Life similar or different.
Is this real? Bold shapes in my head.
So let's start with the overall feel, which in a musical sense, I think pertains to the style and genre of the piece. I think it's safe to say that in both Vulfpeck's and JC Proof's song, there's a distinct funk boogie disco sound reminiscent of the bands Chic,
Feel the rhythm, chant the rhyme, come on along and have a real good time.
as well as maybe Earth, Wind, and Fire, a favorite of my father. And you can hear this in the JC Proof chorus with instruments like the strings and the bongos layered with those vocals and punchy rhythmic guitar. In the Vulfpeck version, you've got those nice open piano chords, as well as a bunch of beautiful male falsetto vocals layered on top of each other in octaves.
Just as I
just like in Boogie Wonderland. And we also have continuous congas, aux percussion, driving that groove and giving us that 70s vibe. Next, we can look at the lyrical content of the tune as a whole. Obviously, there's the direct overlap in the hook, IRL, in real life, but are there any other similarities in the verses or general vibe of the tune? In Vulfpeck's song, we have the lyrics, I was barely hanging on, like a picture on the wall, I love that, as well as, I haven't seen you in a while, and I really miss your smile. While in the JC Proof version, we've got, I'm alone on my grind because we live on our phones while we upload our lives, as well as lonely this afternoon, so I call down my contacts, but they're shrinking daily. So there's no overlaps here, but I think that both songs are evoking feelings of postmodern isolation and loneliness. When you look at the chord progression of each of these choruses, we see that JC Proofs starts on the 4 chord D major 7 and descends diatonically down to the 1 chord A major 7. Every other chord is anticipated coming in on the and of 4, which is pretty common in this funk pop style. Now, Vulfpeck's song is a half step higher in the key of B flat from JC Proofs, but since most people hear things relatively, it doesn't really matter what key a song is in, and so I've pitched it down a half step to make it easier to compare. The Vulfpeck tune also starts on the 4 chord, D major 7, and also generally descends towards the tonic. However, it does it in, frankly, a more interesting way. We hear a D pedal between the first 2 chords, D major 7 moving to E7 with D the 7th in the bass, followed by that movement to C sharp minor 7, which you also heard in JC Proof. And we end with a very cool turnaround chord of F dominant 7, quite spicy, a little bit outside of the key with that A sharp in there, and I think that leads really, really nicely back to the D major 7. Vulfpeck's progression also anticipates the downbeats, with all of their chords coming in on the and of 4 in that sort of groovy funk boogie way. The melodic hook of this tune is by far and away the thing that stands out as the most similar between the two songs. You can see in the sheet music that they both enter on beat 3, coming out of a break in the verse or pre-chorus. Of course, they both feature identical lyrics in the same order, IRL, in real life. And the initial 3 notes over the words IRL in both versions ascend stepwise diatonically. The human ear tends to pick out rhythm, words, and melodic shapes more than it does specific notes. And so the commonalities here, in my opinion, do indicate substantial similarity, but you'll have to ask yourself what you think.
IRL in real life.
Yeah, it is striking coming off that break how similar these hooks sound to me. There are definitely some specific differences in the approach that these hooks took. The Vulfpeck IRL is more syncopated, IRL, while the JSP version uses downbeats, IRL. The in real life in the JC Proof version is syncopated, however, it's all on the same note, whereas the Vulfpeck version has a prominent octave leap from the upper A to its lower counterpart. Melodically, they're both diatonic, however, the JC Proof version starts on scale degree 1, 2, 3, whereas the Vulfpeck version begins higher on 3, 4, 5. The form of each chorus is different. Vulfpeck initiates with the IRL hook, but then develops it further, changing the lyrics and looping back to a unison rhythm at the end. I absolutely love that. Whereas the JC Proof chorus is more static and repetitive, featuring a repeated call and response between the vocals and the strings.
IRL in real life. Let's get time for real life.
A la Michael Jackson's PYT.
I want to love you, pretty young thing. You need some loving, then a loving care.
So that's it for my musical analysis. I think there's some pretty striking similarities between the hooks of these songs, but of course there's a lot going on that's different and unique about them as well. At the end of the day, I'm excited that Vulfpeck thinks the hook IRL is as cool as I did, and I would love to see some sort of collaboration or mashup of these two songs. Maybe we can play a show together and combine them in some way. I see you sold out Madison Square Garden's Vulfpeck. You need an opener? It's pretty gray when it comes to borrowing, being influenced by, and sharing art and creative resources. So I don't think there's any foul play here. I think it's a pretty interesting coincidence that happened, but I would love to hear from Vulfpeck and know what their origin story for this song is and what influenced the creative decisions that they made along the way. Peace out, y'all. Happy listening, and thanks for checking out JC Proof.